back to the channel. We got a fun article for you today about 10 awesome collectible 1990s cars, including under the radar picks. The 1990s are back, at least in the terms of rad and collectible cars, trucks, and SUVs. The 1990s conjures up for some a sort of automotive dark age full of unsatisfying niche vehicles and evolutionary dead ends. It's the decade that gave us the Suzuki X90, after all, and our final taste of weirdos like convertible economy cars. But it also was studded with gems that have been bona fide collectibles with prices to match. Some of them are on the verge of slipping into complete unaffordability, but there are others that arguably remain great deals, and all are worthy of a collector's interest. Up first on the list is the already collectible 1991 to 96 Nissan 300ZX Twin Turbo. The Z32 Generation Z sports car was a technological tour de force, and it recaptivated the model's magic after the bloated prior model was more of a grand tourer than the original Z. Not so here, especially in twin turbo guise. The look was sleek and aerodynamic, and the VG30DE twin turbo intercooled V6 made a whopping 50% more power than its single turbo predecessor. 300 HP and 283 front of torque, wild numbers for the time. That wasn't the extent of the tech either, as Nissan tapped its HICAS active rear steering for a world-beating handling that helped it snap up our 1990 Import Car of the Year award. Those that have survived command ever-increasing prices, while prices for the cleanest examples have slipped slightly. An excellent 300ZX Turbo is still a $40,000 car as of this writing. Up next on the list is the already collectible 1992 to 1999 Chevrolet Tahoe GMC Yukon two-door. Once ubiquitous, enough time has passed that the iconic GMT 400 platform vehicles, the CK pickups, Suburban, and the Tahoe Yukon two-doors have gotten difficult to find in good condition. That, combined with the rose-tinted memories of these trucks and SUVs cruising around in everyone's minds, have made us all collectively reevaluate these once overlooked vehicles. To modernize the GMT 400 crew, particularly the slick two-doors, look upright, honest, and handsome. And unlike a lot of the sort of exotic cars on most people's minds when thinking about collectibles, these are reasonably priced even after reaching their current peak values. More important, they're very usable with available four-wheel drive and enough power to tow toys or tackle a weather-racked road. While Chevy trucks can and will last for decades with proper attention, the really good ones command a well-deserved premium, and we think they're well worth the effort to find. Expect to pay anywhere between $20,000 and $40,000 for a well-kept example. Up next is the already collectible 1990 to 1993 Porsche 911 964. At one time, the 964 generation Porsche 911 didn't get a lot of respect. It wasn't as slick and powerful as the latter 993s, and its modernized appearance looked incongruous with its aging shape. Because of its desirable hardware, including the stout G50 manual transmission, many were backdated to look like long hood 911s from the pinnacle of Porsche styling. But now that seems unthinkable, as the 964 is truly coming into its own. Despite a short model run, there are many variants, including the highly desirable turbos, available all-wheel drive, a first in a production 911, and even the Tiptronic for those who would prefer one. Some excellent 1990s paint color options also give it a flair its 1980s predecessors lack. Prices have jumped in the last few years, and the sky's the limit as more folks tune into the 964's unique mix of charms. Excellent examples of even the Carrera 2 are in six figures, while the rarest variants like the Carrera RS break the $1 million barrier. Next on the list is the already collectible 1997 to 2004 Chevrolet Corvette C5. It's hard to overstate how radical the C5 Corvette was when new, especially when our perspective warped by the C8 Corvette's exotic rear engine layout. But in some ways, the C5 was the C8 of its time. Its innovative chassis involving hydroformed frame rails and lightweight laminated balsa floor panels and rear transaxle were the stuff of engineers' fever dreams. It's a miracle sickly GM was able to greenlight the thing at all in the 1990s. It debuted toward the end of the decade. The even more formidable Z06 would bow in 2001, and from the get-go, it was a performance bargain. The LS1 V8 was a marvel, lightweight and power dense, and it birthed the entire LS engine family and phenomenon. It's still the go-to swap engine for almost everything. There were even several body styles: a lightweight fixed roof coupe, a standard Targa top coupe, and a convertible. The shape has aged well, even the pop-ups, the last of their kind for the US market by the end of the C5's run. The interior, not so much. That you endure a C5's interior rather than enjoy it, but the performance makes up for its crudeness. Ratty, modified C5s were ridiculously cheap, but ultra-clean, low-mile ones are in the $30,000 range, after years of rock-bottom depreciation. The Z06 ship is taking off, and we think the earlier C5s are due to appreciate even more soon. Best of all, they're not so expensive or rare they can't be used and loved in the meantime. Up next is the already collectible 1989 to 1995 Ford Taurus Show. The Taurus was a coupe for Ford, and the powerful show version certainly earned its additional attention. Yet for a couple of decades, the Show was just an old, if interesting, sedan, with even clean ones selling for well under $10,000. Now the SUVs everywhere and the manual transmission dying, the Show formula Yamaha-developed DOHC V6 stick-shift four-door sedan represents the antithesis of what anyone would actually buy today. The Show has aged into its incongruous appeal perfectly. Prices are climbing, not least because so many of these were thrashed by young drivers who loved having the cheap 220 horsepower car. The remaining are uncrumpled, clean ones are suddenly rare and highly desirable, but prices have yet to catch up. $20,000 is likely to get you one of the world's nicest. Still, the incredible deals are all gone, so get one before everyone else wises up. Up next is the already collectible 1994 to 1998 Toyota A80 Supra Turbo. The A80 Supra was never an inexpensive vehicle. Born out of the Japanese bubble-era economy, it was a tech marvel that paired the stupendously complicated sequential twin-turbo system with a massively overbuilt 2JZ inline 6. Swoopy bodywork and a skyscraping rear wing made a statement. A few decades of Supras and 2JZs in general, making legendary power on stock bottom ends, earned it a continuing place on enthusiasts' short list. But now, the Supra's appreciation is accelerating as potential owners' incomes have swollen in inverse proportion to the number of remaining clean Supras. The availability of JDM imports has muddied the waters a bit, but it's the mintiest US market turbo models that command the biggest premium, to the tune of $175,000 and up. There's still likely plenty of space until these hit the ceiling, so there's no time like the present to get into a Supra. Up next is the 90s cars to buy before it's too late. It's a 1996 to 2001 Toyota Chaser Mark II. Polyphony's Digital's Gran Turismo video game hit car enthusiast brains like a runaway decotora, expanding everyone's knowledge of and interest in the approximately 597,000 weird variants of JDM cars included in the game's lineup. Gran Turismo planted seeds fertilized by Initial D and drifting that led to the contemporary craze around Nissan Skyline, GTRs, and other JDM imports, and turned many of the rear-drive Japanese models available in North America into drift tax cautionary tales. A few JDM imports still managed to stay under the radar, and the Toyota Chaser Mark II, virtually identical vehicles with some minor aesthetic differences, is one of the you should be thinking about before everybody else does. The Chaser in stock form is the ultimate sleeper, looking a bit like a weirdly proportioned Camry. But underneath the nondescript sheet metal is a rear-drive based inline-six powered chassis that easily accepts subtle or extreme modifications. Prices trail rear-view Skylines or similar vintage, but maybe not for long. Importers often relatively clean stock models for less than, sometimes much less than, $15,000. That said, not all Chasers are performance machines, with configurations varying from taxi cab spec to the desirable Tour V TRD turbocharged model, so import wisely. Up next on the list is 90s car to buy before it's too late. It's a 1998 Suzuki Jimny. Suzuki tried to replace the well-loved Samurai known as the Jimny most everywhere else, mini SUV in America with the larger Geo Tracker Suzuki Sidekick, which simply didn't have the same appeal. Meanwhile, in 1998, the third generation Jimny appeared, looking very much like an outdated, modernized version of its predecessor, but it was never sold in America. And yet a lot of what everyone loved about the Samurai remains, including a rugged ladder frame, solid axles front and rear, and a part-time four-wheel drive system with a legit low range. That means despite being more civilized than the tinny Samurai, this is a credible off-roader with compact dimensions and formidable array of available aftermarket enhancements. To sweeten the deal, left-hand drive models are available via Europe, including the canvas-top semi-convertible models built by Santana in Spain. Narrow key specification models with smaller engines were sold in Japan, and models with flares, extended bumpers, and larger engines were sold as the Wide Sierra. With US law as it stands, 2023 is the first year the third gen is available to legally import to America. There was even a Mazda bagged version in Japan if you want extra obscurity points. 10 grand should get you a nice one, importation included. Up next on the list of 90s cars to buy before it's too late is the 1993 to 2003 Volkswagen Eurovan. In the 1990s, if you wanted a compact pop-top camper van, options were slim. The most appealing to us and legions of fans then and now were the various camper versions of the Volkswagen Eurovan, including the Weekender and Winnebago versions. The Eurovan wasn't necessarily great in non-camper versions. The dynamic earlier 2.5-liter i5 models are barely adequate, but what other option did we have? What the Eurovan lacks in gumption, it makes up for in versatility and kitschy appeal with a very Euro interior, and in non-GL variants, equipment for sleeping and camping built into the MV and Weekender models. But sales were dismal, and 1993 was the only model year for the first run. In 1995, Winnebago stepped in and imported some Eurovans to receive the full camper conversion treatment. Later, in 1999, the Eurovan officially returned with a more powerful VR6 engine and would stick around for a few years. Later, VR6 models offer more power and better features. It was still a niche product, and now it's an older niche product. Thankfully, good Eurovan campers exist, and at roughly $35,000 to $45,000 in decent shape are a much less expensive way to get into the van camping hobby than a modern conversion. Plus, there's a significant knowledge base and enthusiasts to fix the issues that crop up with these older vans. Get one while you can. Up next on the list of 90s cars to buy before it's too late is the 1992 to 1995 Honda Civic Si. Overshadowed by its SI Coupe's successor, the earlier 1990s Civic Si hatchback is in a sweet spot right now of age, desirability, and accessible performance if you can find one. Like most Hondas, a couple decades of rock bottom prices and the car's reliability and efficiency means many were either thrashed or just driven into the ground. The current collector car environment means many hard-to-find cream puffs are emerging from storage units and finding a way to auction sites and forum listings, where they generally trade for as little as $10,000. You'll pay more than $20,000 for a top example, but these SI models are only expensive relative to other similar spec Hondas. The 1992 Civic Si debuted with a screaming VTEC i4 and sporty, smooth hatchback style. While it only made 125 horsepower when new, the sky's the limit for mods, whether starting with a stock block or swapping to a B-, K- or whatever series model. That said, even a bone stock SI is a charmer, with a lightness and zip that you just don't get with much heavier modern front drivers. And you can't beat the VTEC's manic pull once the cam profile switches over. Lastly, while tiny but modern standards, the SI is even practical, with a nifty two-piece rear hatch and a clean, fun interior. Up next on the list of 90s cars to buy before it's too late is the 1994-1995 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra. Fox body Mustangs are having their day in the sun right now, with really clean examples starting to creep up into legitimate collector car territory, especially rarities like the 93 SVT Cobra from the then new SVT division. The SN95 generation Mustang that followed has, with a few exceptions, not yet crossed the magical threshold of collectability. Sure, Mustang folks have always been eyeing the SVT versions, but prices haven't yet seen that big leap made by some of the other cars on the list. A nice 94-95 Cobra Coupe or convertible is roughly a $20,000 car today. They may never be highly valuable, but it's still worth considering the SN95's SVT Cobras, particularly the pre-modular models with the 5-liter, well technically 4.9 liter, but who's counting, small block V8. These models got a mostly carryover model from the Fox body Cobras with the GT40 heads, but with a little extra breathing work and some other hot rodding tricks to produce 25 more horsepower for a total of 240 horsepower and 283 pound front. Not too shabby for a 3,400 pound car, even today. As a bonus, they're not nearly as rare as a Cobra R, so there's no shame in hitting the aftermarket to improve output, ride, or handling. There's also the halo of the SVT badge itself, which invokes Ford's daring sporty era of go-fast pickups and even hot hatchbacks. Alright, there you have it. 10 awesome collectible 1990s cars, including under the radar picks. What did you think of the list? Was there some cool cars on this list? Which one would you pick up if you had an extra 20 to 40,000 to blow on a car? Let me know in the comment section. I'd be interested to hear from you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please take a second to give it a like. You can do that now. And if you really enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel.